y'all, and thank y'all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Journey Podcast, where I am your host, Kiera. I'm always so excited to spend time with you guys. I hope that you guys have had an amazing week thus far, and y'all are looking forward to an amazing weekend. As always, I'm so excited to spend time with y'all. Um, yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this week's episode. I wanted to say first, before we did, I'm sorry. And I think I always do that, and I need to stop doing that. That's something that I want to work on. Saying, oh, let's dive into this week's episode. And then saying, well, before we do that, no, okay. Let me just go ahead and say what I want to say before we dive into this week's episode. Thank you all for those that tuned into last week's episode. I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for the feedback that I received from you all. Y'all are so amazing. I love this community. Y'all are my friends. um, yeah, y'all are so amazing. Um, and so I'm grateful for that. Someone asked me to elaborate a little bit more on what it looks like to get closer to God. If you would like to join me in my study of the book of Haggai, or if I'm not saying it right, Haggai, you are more than welcome to join me. If you are on a different path, just pray and ask God, where do I begin? What is it that I need to focus on right now? If you need to focus on obedience, there are lots of Bible verses on obedience. You don't have to just read like a specific book. Maybe you can study a verse. That is a thing. It's so much other things. So whatever you feel led, my way is not the only way. And so whatever you feel led to do, whatever you feel like gets you closer to God, that's like asking, um, hey, how do I get closer to my friend? You just kind of know, you just kind of feel it in your heart. And so just pray about it and just ask God, what is it that He wants you to focus on right now? Or what is it that I'm missing right now that I could get into a little bit more? There was a point for me where I felt like there was something missing. And for me, it was obedience. And so I think that was 2024. Yeah, it was like obedience was a big thing for me. I was just learning to hear from God and to trust His voice, um, for real. And so that was good for me. And so I just looked up Bible verses on obedience. I just wanted to know tell me somebody that was in the Bible that was obedient, God, and I want to be like them. But that was really my approach for real. But um, if you just look into whatever it is that you feel like you're missing, or you feel like you need, just look it up and look into it. Look up all the verses on it. Write those verses down. Repeat those verses to yourself out loud in the car, on your commute home, picking up the kids, to the doctor, whatever, wherever it is that you're going. Just rehearse those verses. Write them down until you remember them, where you could be like one of those people that's really good at Bibling, and they can be like, oh, in First John 17, and they just standing up with no Bible next to them. I am not that person. Yeah, I would like to be like that person, like where you could just be having a random conversation and you can just be like, well, in the Bible, in Second Corinthians 2:17, it said, Zabaloop, blah, blah, hey, Jesus, 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 one day. Um, that could be you. You just never know. Just look up verses. Um, and sometimes those verses will carry you into you go down a rabbit hole. It's like getting on TikTok. You get on TikTok and you look up one thing, and now you're just invested in it. And so that's the same way for me that like my Bible study goes. It's just rooted in a topic. It's not always rooted in just a book. And so yeah, just and if you need further help or any assistance in anything that I can help you with, I'll be more than happy if you reach out to me, to just kind of help you find your way. And we can just talk, and we can just kind of, I can recommend something. I am not a professional Bible study person. However, if you trust my guidance, then I'll be more than happy to to help you in the best way that I can. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and get into this week's episode. Today, I just wanted to talk about how we get to this point where we are, to those that are good at a lot of things, and then all the things are pulling you in all these different directions. And so you feel obligated to show up in all of these different roles that you play, or in these different things that you've taken on. And it's like, okay, that burnout is real, okay? It's so real. You have to just take a step back sometimes. And while you're good at a lot of things, and now here you are, you're one of those people like myself, you've started all these different journeys, all these different things that you want to do because you're like, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can still be a mom, I can still be a wife or a husband, I can still be employee of the month, I can still be trainer of the month, I can still do this, I can still do that, I can still be business owner, and I can do 3 other businesses that I just thought about. And at some point, you have to slow down, and because it's gonna feel like you're being pulled in a lot of different directions. And while you're being pulled in those directions, all those different directions, you're spreading yourself thin. And so, Kiara, you're spreading yourself thin. Okay, Kiara, I hear you. Sometimes you gotta talk to yourself. And so, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to whoever else needs to hear this. You can do all those things, but set out a timeline, set out a goal, and make it to a point where you're focusing on one thing at a time. Um, because if you're anything like me, you want to show up perfectly in all those different aspects, in all those different roles. And so, your 100% from you, that requires a lot of energy, that requires minimal sleep, that requires sometimes you having a little moment where you just kind of lash out at someone else that's in a different aspect that didn't even deserve it. So here, let me use the kids for example, and I try my best not to do this, where you're frustrated from one thing not going the way that you may have thought that it would have gone, and then the kids are like, mama, 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 and they call your name at a million miles per minute. And so here you are, you're like, what? You just kind of snap at them, or you kind of snap at your spouse, or partner, or whatever the case may be. You snap at them because you have a lot on your plate at work, or you have a lot on your plate. You've taken on a lot, more than you really can handle, which you have convinced yourself because you're good at everything that you can handle all the things. You can handle all the whole load. Drop it on me. Let me get it. Thank you. Don't worry. Just add more. Put more on the top. Just put more on there. I got it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just show y'all kind of the visual of what that looks like. So those that are on the audio, I am going to do a visual. So if you do want to take a look at the YouTube video, I am on YouTube as well. So hold on just a second. Let me just kind of get some things and pile them up like I do in real life. And give me more. I can take more. I can take more. And so now everything is falling all over the place, and it's a mess all around you. And mess gets your OCD running and jumping, and so now something else that had absolutely nothing to do with that chaotic moment that you just had comes right up after all that just happens, all after you just took on all these things that really you really can't afford to take on anymore. Like it's okay. Take it one thing at a time, one step at a time, one journey at a time, and so that you can focus and you can show up in that in its fullness, and that you can be present in that in its fullness. Because it's one thing to show up, but it's another thing to show up and not fully be present. if that makes sense. Um, sometimes physically we're there, but mentally and emotionally, we're not. We don't have the capacity to show up because we're thinking about all the other things that we signed up for. And so the kids, for me, they had so many things to do, and um, I had already like said, "Oh, I'm gonna do a bunch of other things that I already had planned without." And it's the last minute, and it's for me. Sometimes they'll sign up for something at the last minute, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, go ahead, you could do that. You can do that. That's great. That'll be good. That's fine. I can make something happen. I can make it work. I can do that. I can pull that off." And really, no, okay. um, a big thing that I had to do, I had to set boundaries with my children. I had to let them know, if you don't let me know something, that you know that you're interested in something in in a good amount of time, then the answer is no. Like, we're not doing that. We're not doing last minute signups. We're not doing, oh, I need a physical by tomorrow because I'm signing up for this. No, we're not doing that. Um, and I had to set boundaries with my children, but I also had to set boundaries with myself. I had to tell myself, Kier, you're not gonna take on three and four things at a time. You're one person, and you can only, and because you like to show up the way you like to show up, okay, if it's not perfect, I like it to be close to perfect, because if my name is on it and it has to come back to me, I would like to be smiling and shining and, like a trophy. When they say, "Oh, Kiara did that." Yes, yes, I did. I don't want to be like, "Oh, Kiara did that." Mm-mm. We don't need her to do that no more. And so I just like to, the way that I like to show up, and the way that you should want to show up. You should want to show up 100%, um, fully focused, fully present in all aspects, where you can even receive constructive criticism and so forth and so on. Um, you can pay attention, and you can make sure that there are no errors, and you can perfect whatever it is that, however it is, or whatever it is that you're showing up as. And so, set those boundaries with yourself. Stop taking on more than you can handle. Learn to say, "Hey, you know what? You don't always have to say yes. I have a I and you don't always have to have an answer for somebody as soon as they ask you something." That's another thing. That's another boundary that I had to create for myself and others, cuz it's like, I'll take on whatever I took on, and then it seemed like somebody will just coincidentally come and be like, "Hey, can you do this?" Instead of me saying, "Well, let me get right back to you with that, because I did have some other obligations. So I just want to make sure everything irons out the way that I'd like for it to." Instead of me saying that, I'm saying, "Sure, great, yeah, of course I'll be there." And so before I know it, I've taken on um dinner, seafood with Brittany, when I had other things that I had to do. So now I got to cut something else short, cut some corners or something else, hurry up, be late for this, and so take your time, guys, and answer people. Do not rush. Just because they ask you now does not mean that they need an answer right now. "Hey, let me get back with you. Hey, let me ask my spouse first." Even just blame everything on them. If you blame everything on them, it doesn't matter. Let me make sure that he ain't got no plans for me. And so it's just like, you just have to set those boundaries, guys, with yourself and with others that are close to you, because people are so used to me just being like, "Yeah, sure," all the time, that they come to me, they don't expect a "let me think about it," or "let me get back to you with that." They don't even expect that. And so here I am. Um, that's why I've been pulled in so many directions at one time, stretching myself thin, braining myself out. That is one of the main causes of burnout, guys. We take on so much at one time that we're not even capable of, um, of juggling everything. And so, of course, you have to prioritize what's most important. What is it that there is no back and forth? I have to show up for this. That for me is my kids. I have to show up for my kids. However, I set boundaries with my children. You cannot ask me today about signing up for something that you need to be picked up for at 7 o'clock tomorrow. You can't do that to me. Um, if you really want to do it, you should know, you should have known that you wanted to do it before the day before. Um, the girls one year they signed up for cheerleading and they needed a physical the next day. It was impossible for me to really get them a physical done because there were no appointments available. I made it my business. I was running all over the place. I bullied my way into an appointment for them because I wanted them to do what they wanted to do, but I shouldn't have done that because what am I teaching them? You know? And so this lesson is not just for me, it's for my children too. And we're all growing. Um, there's no manual to being a great parent. But while there is no manual, as things happen, as these things happen, you should be able to go back and say, hey, you know what? I'm not doing that again. Um, not doing that again, not doing that again. Check it off. No, and be firm with it. I am so My kids know that sucker city right here, okay? Sucker for the children. I love them down to the floor. It's no back and forth when it comes to them. And so I had to create some back and forth. Because if I don't, then they will. I have 7 kids that are asking me to do things. And so if I don't set boundaries, I will instantly burn out. Matter of fact, burn out, please. I will explode. Okay? If everybody just come and be like, Mom, I got something to do tomorrow. Mama, 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 then my eyes will start. They'll start doing things that I never seen them do. And so, guys, we got to set these boundaries. And set boundaries not just with the kids. Set boundaries with your spouse too. Um, Sometimes you're like, I am priority in your life because I am your spouse. And so drop everything and do what I say. Or let's do what I want to do. And you have to create that boundary with them too sometimes. If that's the case in your relationship. While and plan accordingly. I have a planner that I was gifted for my Secret Santa for Christmas, and I've been using it, guys. I'm so excited. I love it. It's so cute. It's so pink. I like pink. Um, and so I write in it, and so um, when I have things to do, hey, let me know when we have things to do. Communicate that with your partner, if especially if y'all like do date night and stuff like that. Make sure that you like plan around those things and that you're focused on whatever one thing it is, and not 1,000 things at a time. Y'all, at one point I had in my planner, I had like 10 different goals. And and this is just a little moment of transparency. I talked to Chat GPT about my goals and my planning and how I should plan out my day, how I should plan out my week, how I should plan out my month, and so forth and so on. And so, in hopes to having a successful year, and so, Chat GPT told me, "Girl, you got you doing too much. You're doing too much." I was like, "Hold on, who are you talking to? I pay for you. You don't tell me I'm doing too much." And it was true. And it was true. And so, ChatGPT told me to narrow those things down, narrow it down to one thing. Well, narrow it down to 5. Choose what's priority. Then, whatever the top 3 is priority, break that down in whatever capacity is possible for you to be able to do. If you can do those 3 things in a week's time, then do them. If not, it's fine. Stretch it out. And so I was so grateful for that moment because I needed something or somebody to tell me you're doing too much. And so I feel like a lot of people that love me and care about me, they kind of co-sign with my additives. And so when I want to add stuff to my like list to do, nobody says you don't feel like that's so. Well, what about the other thing that you? Nobody does that. They just like, yeah, that's good. Oh, yeah, you can do all that. And so, I be needing that. Tell me you doing too much, girl. Friend, you doing too much, you know? And so, um, my goal now is to try to focus on one thing at a time and perfect that, get that where I need to go. When we're starting things, whether it's a business, whether it's working out, whatever the case may be, whatever it is that we're starting, when we're starting things, we have to really get that off the ground, focus on it so that we can give it our all, show up fully for that one thing, and until it gets to where we need to be, until it gets to the next level. And so it's just like a baby. It's like kids. So with my kids, I had Zion. Zana is 2.5 years older than Amani, and then Amani is 3 years older than Torin, and then everybody else is a year apart until we get down to Jahar. Until we get down to Jahara, which is five. She's 5 years younger than the twins, and so like I did in the first part where I was being, strategic with my having children. I wouldn't really say I was being strategic, but um you give that one baby time to grow and time to get independent where they can kind of go and get their own little thing, little juice out the refrigerator, and and it's just not overlapping. The hardest part of me having my kids when they were back to back. I just was like one baby, two baby, three baby, four, five baby, six baby. I got one more, you know. And so it was easier to mom. It was easier to parent them. It was easier to nurture them. Um, when there was space in between them, good space in between them. So after I had Zana was 2.5 years old. She was my little helper when I had Amani, and then Amani and Ziana were my little helper when I had Torin. And here Zana's like 5 years older than Torin, well, almost 5 years older than Torin, and Monty is 3 years older than him. And so it was just like, it was so nice. It was easy. I was like, having another kid wouldn't be hard because this is easy. And then Omega is not even a year. He's not even a year older than the twins. They just like 11 months apart. They're the same age for uh 13 days, I think. No, for 12 days. They're the same age for 12 days. And so that part was hard. Why? Because one baby was still new while the other two babies were born. And so I'm so glad. Listen, look at me using my life as a reference. I like that. I like, use me, Lord. And so, and so that was the hardest gap, when there was no gap. I started something else before I even finished nurturing the other thing. And so oh wow, I'm just really noticing this in this moment right here while I'm recording, you guys. That lesson for me, um is something that I learned that I can implement in my life altogether, because I witnessed firsthand how hard it was to birth more ideas after I just had an idea, after I just birthed an idea. And so that the age gap between Jahar and the twins, I needed that. The twins, everybody was self-sufficient when I had Jahar. Don't ask me what made me start over, y'all, because I don't want to hear it. I just did, I just did. And guess what? The 5 years have been easier. I mean, when I say the easiest, because all of the other ideas help nurture the new idea. And so if we put that in a business aspect, um once you get one business off the ground, once you get that going and it's growing in the direction that you'd like for it to do, it can open doors for you to have another business, for you to start another business, and it can probably help fund that other business because it's so seasoned. It's so it's been here. It's and so if you look at it in a financial aspect, where that business has made so much money, and it maybe has built all the business credit that you could possibly need. You got the age, you got um the bank statements for 3 years, and so forth and so on. And so now that business and its credibility can make room for the other business to take off successfully and easily, just like my children. Stop. Look at me. Just putting everything together. I like that. I like that. But yeah, um, have one baby and then grow that baby, nurture that baby, do all the things to make that baby successful, and then have another baby. Stop stretching ourselves thin. Stop tearing up the scar tissue. When I was having, you know what? Another thing I want to talk about, and it's just a moment of transparency. When I was having the children back to back, um, I had Torin in 2015. I had Omega in 2016, and I had the twins in 2017. And all my children was born via C-section, and because I kept having to get cut so much back to back, the scar tissue was not even healed yet, and so after having the twins, I experienced some of the worst things in my life. I had a blood clot in my lungs, and um I had a blood clot in my stomach. So I had a pulmonary embolism and I had a hematoma. And so um the medication for one was going to cause the other one to cause like internal bleeding. And so I needed blood thinners for the pulmonary embolism, and but those blood thinners were going to cause the blood clot that was in my stomach to bleed internally. And so they were going back and forth with taking me on and off different medications, and it was so scary, y'all. It was so scary. I was scared to have another kid. That's why I didn't even think about having Jahara until like 5 years later. Um, and so it was just hard. It was a lot of recovery had to happen. And in that recovery, um, I went through a lot emotionally, and mentally, and physically. I had to be on blood thinners for years, and that was hard. Just any little tap would cause me to look like someone beat me to a pulp. And it was just, even if it was like self-inflicted, and so people like, what's going on? And so while I went through that, while I was in the hospital, I was in the hospital, and the twins were in the hospital while I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital for like a week, maybe a week and a half. And I could have visitors at one point, and then I couldn't have visitors. And so the twins were in the hospital. I was on the fifth floor, they were on the third floor. And it was just so much going on. And I had a nurse that would come when she would get off. Her shift was off at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Her name is Joe. I'll never forget her. We're actually friends on Facebook. And so Joe would come and get me. She would take the whole hospital bed, and she would take me down to the um the nursery, and she would so I could see the twins, and that was the little light that I needed. And so I always I always think of Joe as just a an angel, man. She does not know. The twins are 8 years. They're gonna be 9 this year, and she does not know how how close to my heart. I hold that time, and I'll just never forget her for being there for me and just like just showing up, because God has a way, and I took it as God having a way. I don't want to cry. God has a way of giving me that reassurance that everything's gonna be okay, that you are stronger sometimes than you think you are. And so how sometimes we just take on way more than way more than we can afford to. And in that he allows you to take a step back with still giving you that reassurance that you are going to make it. You are going to be okay, cuz here we are 9 years later. I didn't see myself here. I didn't see my boys growing the way that they're growing because they were so tiny. They were 4 pounds 9 ounces and 4 pounds 12 ounces. And so here they are about to be 9 years old, and they're thriving. They're amazing. And then we have Omega that is also thriving. And so here I was, I'm like, how am I going to be a good mom? How am I going to show up for them? And I'm in a hospital bed. Then he sent Joe, and Joe came, get this bed down here. Joe was putting me on, we were on the elevator, and she had just gotten off from work. I don't even know how long her shift was. But however, she never complained, and she made it her business. I would be sleeping and she would knock on the door, wake me up. Come on, we're going downstairs to see the boys. Because she knew that that's what I wanted. Like, I didn't even have to say that to her. She knew that I just, like, I needed to see them. I needed Joe to get off and have an ad on to her to-do list. I needed her to take on the responsibility of allowing God to use her. And to just yeah, and to do what she did for me, and she did it with, she didn't miss one day. She didn't miss one day. She was always there. um and so I'm so grateful for that. And I don't want to cry. And so I'm going to just go ahead and wrap today's episode up. I love you guys with my whole heart. I hope that this episode helps somebody today. If you are being stretched thin, please take your time and focus on one thing at a time. Um, Nurture your baby and then have another one. Don't just keep having a back to back to back. You're going to have we don't need you with a pulmonary embolism. Okay? All right. Love y'all with my whole heart. Don't forget to please send those ideas for the anniversary episode. I love you guys with my whole heart, and I'll see you guys next week, Thursday. Bye.